we're seeing what Matt Walsh has to say. So professional football might be in trouble. Here's why. So let's see what let's see what Matt Walsh has to say. Why is professional football in trouble? Why is it? It's canceled. That's why.
One thing
canceled.
We've all learned is that there is nothing worse than a national dialogue. Very often after a tragedy or scandal,
we start off awful from the bat, dude. He just comes out swinging. My God, dude. You guys ever see the Fabricio Verdum thing where he pops off Travis Brown? Let me see if I can find the clip of it. Yeah, Fabricio Verdum. Here we go. Okay. All right, this is what just happened to us right here, okay? You ready?
UFC 203
this is Matt Walsh, okay? Right? That's him. This is us. That's what just happened, right? One more time. Travis Brown was us. Matt Walsh was Fabricio Verdum. This is his bad take right out the gate.
Here we
go. Done. We got clipped before anything else could even happen. So, if you don't see what's wrong with him saying that nothing is possibly worse than a national dialogue, then I don't know if there's a whole lot I can say for you, because having a national dialogue is like fundamental towards democracy. So like that's fundamentally anti-democratic on its face.
Scandal of some kind, we're told by the media that it's time for a national dialogue. Sometimes the dialogue is about gun violence or hate or homophobia or sexism or mental health. And it's always the media that announces this dialogue and the media that proceeds to have the dialogue, a dialogue that always turns out to be more of a monologue.
It's weird because I thought the national dialogue happened on like the kitchen table where the media isn't at. You know, isn't that like what we're doing? You're doing this, right? You're the media, my guy. If I'm talking about this, which I've talked to this, I think what he's going to mention, right, is the football player. I forget his fucking name. But the guy that was in the ICU, I think he's still alive. I think he's pulling through. We'll see. Damar Hamlin. Yep, breathing on his own. He's doing better. Okay, so Damar Hamlin got hit, right? And the theory is that he got hit in just the right way that it stopped his heart for a second, essentially. So then he had to go, he wasn't breathing, he had to go to the ICU, and they didn't know if he was going to make it or not, right? And because of that, there's been a dialogue about whether or not football is safe, okay? Now, I want you to think about this for a second, okay? Football and sports in general, and I am a mixed martial artist, right? I do this stuff. Not regularly, I haven't in a while. I got to get back in shape so I can go ahead and start again. It's going to be my way of breaking out, I think, you know? But, I've done this stuff. It's not safe. That's the point of sports that are contact sports. They are not safe. You are putting yourself at risk. CTE is a thing. Your brain can get damaged. Your body will get damaged. You can break legs. You can break bones, right? But recognizing that is part of being a member of the sport, right? You have to recognize that you have one life, only one life, and if what you want to do with it is go out and get punched in the face by a heavyweight, then there's no reason to stop you from that as long as somebody's willing to pay you for it, right? And if you want to go out and you want to get fucking hit in the chest and get sent to the ICU but make $1 million in the process, that's fine, right? But when we have these dialogues, instead of us being like, okay, yeah, sports are dangerous, that's part of it, is there a way for us to make it less dangerous and still maintain what the sport means? Instead of that being the conversation, right? The conversation is like, hey, this seems kind of dangerous. Don't you think there's something we could do? What the fuck do you mean? You're trying to turn this into cheerleading. You're turning it into tic-tac-toe. You want football to be tic-tac-toe. No, I mean, if we can avoid long-term issues for players, I would like to do that as long as it doesn't affect the sport negatively, right? So instead of having a nuanced discussion, Matt Walsh is going to get us our like really smart boy take. Literally everything has a level of danger to it. If someone does something professionally, they understand and accept that danger. Exactly. That's right. And that's okay, right? But just like wearing gloves or wrapping your hands prevents you from shattering your hands most of the time, it helps you protect your hands when you fight someone, right? Like just like wearing a cup keeps you from potentially having, you know, yourself become sterile from getting accidentally kicked in the balls in the middle of a fight, just like a helmet helps prevent certain damage from happening to you, shoulder pads, knee pads, things like that. There are ways to make something safer that don't necessarily take away from the sport, right? Mixed martial, if someone looks at me right now and says, actually, you know what I think mixed martial artists shouldn't wear cups. I just don't think they should. I think if they get kicked in the dick, that they should have to deal with it. They get kicked in the balls. Oh, well. Oh, fucking well. Train your balls to be stronger. Like, no one's going to do that, right? So, yeah. All right, I've preempted this video a lot, but right now, Matt Walsh is just going off on a diatribe about how dialogue is bad.
The media talks about the subject and we're all supposed to listen. That's how the dialogues are always meant to go.
The dialogues are supposed to go that the media brings up a topic, they mention something on the news, and then the dialogue happens at the dinner table, Mr. Walsh. I don't know, maybe he's too busy, like, telling people how 16-year-olds are perfectly fertile and that's who you should have sex with. Like, maybe he's so busy running that train that he doesn't realize that he has a family. You know, he doesn't spend time around the dinner table talking to him. But, you know, sorry, my guy, that's what happens. The media tells you something, you guys talk about it, and then, you know, if you want to send a letter into the media or you want to write to the media or make a dumb video to the media, you go tell them, hey, I think your opinion on this is fucking stupid. It's that simple. You can literally do that. You can even show up to the office and make a formal complaint in person at most of these media stations. So, like, I don't get it.
So this week, we, and by we I mean they, the media, have been having another dialogue, and this one is about violence in football in light of the Damar Hamlin incident. Yesterday, reporters even tried to get...
I say? Again, I don't pre-watch any of these. I just have I have ESP. I'm able to see into the future. It's not that. It's really straightforward. Like, all you have to do is be, like, moderately up on things around you and know how conservatives think. And it's not hard, because conservatives don't do much thinking most of the time, so it's easy to follow through with where they're going. Like, their through line is real simple.
Get the President of the United States to chime in on this subject of violence in football, but they were rebuffed due to the fact that the President of the United States is, well, a vegetable. Listen.
Do you think the NFL is getting too dangerous?
No, look, the idea that you're going to have, you got guys that are 6'8", 340 pounds, running 4'8", 40. I mean, you know, you hit somebody with that kind of force. Now, that's not what happened here. But I just think it's, I don't know how you avoid it.
Wait, so that was a smart take, right? Like, I know he stumbles and fumbles because he's a fucking old guy. You know, Trump does that shit too, you know, fucking Yosemite and whatnot. Like, they stumble and bumble. Old people do that. But, like, outside of the stumbling and bumbling Biden here, like, that was a smart take. You have big, strong, tough guys that are running around, smashing into each other. Eventually, it's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna get hurt. That's just the name of the game. And that's what the Democrats said. Let's hear what Matt Walsh has to say.
Ah, well, he has a point. It's impossible to say what his point is, but I'm sure he has one.
What the fuck, Matt? It wasn't that hard. He said, like, so my man stumbled and bumbled around his words and said, like, 35 words, okay? And Matt Walsh is incapable of reading or hearing 35 words. Like, 35 words is more than Matt Walsh's entire vocabulary, I guess. Like, he scripts this stuff, right?
Over on The View, the football experts sitting around the table had a only slightly more coherent conversation about the topic, but still very stupid.
But this is what I mean. Okay. I'm taking bets right now, okay? I'm taking bets. How much money do you want to bet that Matt Walsh will hear the stupid shit that's said on The View and then afterwards agree literally word for word with what Biden said? How much money you want to bet? Taking bets. Go for it, right? What he's going to do is he's going to talk shit. I didn't even understand that. And then immediately, when it's his turn to talk, and he analyzes it, he's going to say the same thing. Oh, man. Unreal. All right, let's hear it.
Here it is.
Right? I mean, my kid played football. He was recruited for college, and he got a terrible hamstring injury getting hit. And I saw him collapse to the ground. Thank you. And he went through physical therapy for 6 months. And he realized at that point, that could happen to my brain.
Right.
Yeah. And so he quit. And he quit. And it was a very hard thing for him because he loved doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to turn people away from the sport because, I went to Notre Dame. It's like faith, family, football. It's a big deal, and it's a $105 billion industry.
Yeah. Only 45% of Americans think that tackle football is appropriate. Wow. Heterosexual men voted the most support for kids doing football, and conservatives were more likely to support youth tackle football. Just saying.
Okay, so aside from whatever she was saying there, which I don't think is necessarily important to the point at hand, what she just said there was like a really interesting story about a kid who realized that his brain might be his best asset, recognizing that as much as he loves playing football, it might not be worth it to hurt himself, and stepping away from something he loves so that he could pursue something better for himself. Like that's pretty fucking incredible. Especially because the kid looks like he's like 14. Yeah, I would not have had that same state of mind when I was 14 to recognize that something I love doing isn't good for me and just stepping away. I mean, I'm 27 and almost. I'm 26. 27 this month. But I'm 26 and I still do things. Like I'm drinking, Sunkist, Sunkist. Cherry limeade Sunkist, which sponsors this stream. Not really, okay? Unless you want to. Hit me up, Sunkist. But yeah, so like I'm drinking soda. Soda's not fucking good for you, but I love it. And I still clearly can't put certain things down that I know are bad for me. This kid loved football and was like, you know what? That injury that I got, that could happen to my brain, and I want my brain. So like, that's incredible. Now, given the look on his face, he's probably got nothing to say about that first bit, and he's going to talk about straight white men like football. It's probably because they're smart. Started gambling when I was about 14, so could have made better choices. Yeah, see? I gambled when I was 14 a little bit too, but only on sure bets. I only gamble on sure bets, right? And sometimes scratch-offs, but that's because they're fun to do, not because you make any money off of them, okay? Yeah, bad choice. Don't gamble. It's bad. That had to be illegal too, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. You said you were from Norway, right? So like, I don't know. It's not legal to gamble at 14 in Norway, is it? Hopefully? That doesn't seem good. It's all right. Or was it? No, it was Hungary you said you were from, wasn't it? It was Hungary. Sorry. Yeah, Hungary. You can't gamble in Hungary, right? At 14? No? Okay. All right. Back to Matt Walsh.
Just saying. Heterosexual men enjoy football, so it must be bad.
What did I say? What did I fucking say, dude? I could write his scripts in like 5 minutes, okay? 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes. I write a Matt Walsh script. It's that easy. My God.
With a take like that, Joy Behar may have just earned herself a show on ESPN, actually. Meanwhile, the news media has contributed to the national dialogue with headlines like these. Fans grapple with football's violent pull after Hamlin collapse. And we're all complicit in the NFL's violent spectacle.
That's true, though. Like, you can believe both. So, you know. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, like, you know, loot boxes, things that are virtual, you know, NFTs, crypto, shit like that. That makes sense. But yeah, like, we are all complicit. Like, that's something that's important to recognize, right? Like, me as a fan, even though right now I don't do a whole lot of I want to do more, but as a fan of mixed martial arts, I buy the pay-per-view. Well, I buy the pay-per-views. I do, Dana. You better listen. I buy them. Okay, all right. I buy them. I buy the pay-per-views. I watch the fight night cards. You know, and every time that happens, someone's getting hurt. So I am complicit in the violence. That is something that is true. And if I don't recognize that I'm complicit in the violence, then I am doing something wrong. I am complicit in the violence. The issue is this whole cloth dismissal of violence, right? The issue is that violence is fucking everywhere, right? You living inside your house is violence. You had to go commit violence against a tree or whatever to build your house, right? And you are violently keeping other things away from your house, right? If like a raccoon comes inside your house or rats come inside your house, you're not just going to let them live there. You're going to kill them, right? Anytime you eat food, whether you think plants are sentient or not, whether you think, you know, it's okay to kill animals or not, you're doing violence against plants or animals. So like, you are always complicit in violence. Recognizing that violence is everywhere and finding ways to limit it so that humans can live primarily without worrying about that violence is what we should be doing, right? And then we can simulate that violence for people that want to see it, that want to experience what that violence is like, but without actually being subjected to it through sports. And I think that's fine, right? As like a society thing. It's like BDSM, you know what I mean? Like if you like getting choked while someone's doing the business, then that's between you and the person choking you, right? Like, that's not a big deal. I'm sure you don't want to be strangled all the time regularly, just like even mixed martial artists don't want to get in street fights most of the time, you know? Most of them prefer to, like, not have someone run up on their house, break in, and them have to fight them off. They'd prefer to do it in a controlled setting, but it is still violence. So, like, you know, recognize and move forward. Not a hard thing, right?
And then the terrifying collapse of Damar Hamlin and the everyday violence of football. But the first place prize for insufferability has to go to the Washington Post article, which is titled,
"It'll always be the Washington Post." Oh my God.
"After the hoopla, all that's left is the NFL's violence." This is
okay. Sure.
Written by a woman named Robin Givhan, who has likely never actually seen a football game and couldn't discern a first down from a field goal. But the piece begins with this paragraph. "From a distance, from outside the circle of fans..."
Okay, here we go. This is the thing, right? Oh, I don't know if I can because the Washington Post, don't they require a subscription? Oh, Mott the Hoople. Is the L violence. Yeah, no. I can't fact check him, guys. I'm sorry. The Washington Post requires a subscription, so. Oh well, news sources. Oopsie doopsie. Guess I gotta trust Matt Walsh on how he's interpreting this. All right.
And aficionados. Professional football is both confounding and enraging. It's America's most popular sport, and it's also deliberately, unspeakably violent.
That's true. It is deliberately and unspeakably violent, just like mixed martial arts. I support both of them.
It's a particular kind of violence that's less about accidental collisions, adrenaline-fueled fistfights, or even a singular articulated blow. Football violence is wrapped up in machismo, militarism, swagger, and patriotism. It isn't a sport that thrives despite the violence, but because of it.
I mean, that take isn't necessarily bad. Like it's not a wrong thing, but I don't know. I want to read the whole article. This is the thing, is like, in cases like this, like that, if this is it, this is all we see. Football violence is wrapped up in machismo, militarism, swagger, and patriotism. It isn't the sport that thrives despite the violence, but because of it. Like that is true. Like mostly machismo, militarism, swagger, patriotism. You know what I mean? Oh my God, that's so true. I didn't think about it. That means that Matt Walsh, like you said, he is financially supporting the Washington Post. If they require a subscription and he can read the article, he's giving money to the Washington Post. Oh no. Oh, Matt, what have you done? You're funding the evil leftists. The radical left is taking your money. But yeah, this take isn't like delusional or anything. It's like the connotation versus denotation here, right? The connotation is that machismo, militarism, swagger, and patriotism is bad, and I think it's reasonable to assume that that's what this writer is saying. But if you're to look like objectively without any emotions, whether you're the writer or Matt Walsh, right? If you look at it, football violence, specifically the violence associated with football, is wrapped up in machismo, right? Being bigger and stronger and tougher than other people. Militarism, right? Because of the discipline necessary for the sport to happen. Because of the, violent, aggressive way that you fight against the other team. Swagger. That one's really straightforward. Just watch a game of football. And patriotism, which... yeah, like it's all wrapped up in it. I'm American football, not that other sissy shit football. So, yeah. And it also, like they said, isn't a sport that thrives despite the violence, but because of it. And that I agree with. Just like with like MMA or boxing. Like, it's a sport that doesn't thrive despite violence, but because of violence. Like, those aren't things that are false. It's whether or not you agree with them being okay that's the problem, right? Like, what they're saying here is generally correct.
Now, she's exactly right about the last couple of sentences there, and that's precisely what makes football so great.
All right, see? There you go. You can have the discussion about whether or not those things are good.
She goes on for many other paragraphs, continuing to criticize football in terms that just make it sound all the more appealing to many of us, especially many of us men. She says, football is a particularly American sport, although it certainly has fans in other countries, notably in Germany, Britain, and Canada. But the NFL doesn't have the sort of international rosters that one finds among the nation's baseball and basketball teams. There is no American Football World Cup. Football is America's violence. In football, the players wear their helmets and pads to provide them some protection. But all that gear is also a recognition that the game is, in fact, predicated on men injuring other men. They give each other a bruising. They put a hurt on each other. They go to war. Americans love their football. They're loyal to their favorite teams. Fans admire football players' athleticism, their impressively complex tactics, and the competitive spirit of a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But in the last decade, much of the romanticism that once surrounded football has disintegrated to more clearly reveal the racism in the corporate offices, the sexism within the culture, and the enduring physical pain of the game. All that's left.
Okay. I mean, that's true, though. Like, we've seen racism in the system. We've seen sexism in the system. I mean, like, there's not a women's football league, and women don't compete in the NFL at all, right? So, I mean, unless there is there like a WNFL? No way that's a real thing. WNFL. Women's American football. Bruh. The WFA. There is one. Okay. Damn. Okay. Gee. Okay. All right, all right. All right, it does exist. Kind of says something about the sexism part that I didn't even know that though, right? Yowza. So yeah, like there are problems with that, and you know the players get injured, and we've seen with CTE, you know, like with boxing and MMA, that when you get hit consistently, your brain takes a toll, and then there's all that's left is a broken person at the end of it, and at the end of the day, you're complicit in all of that if you support them. And again, I don't think that's necessarily bad. By having an iPhone or a computer, you're complicit in much worse things than people consensually committing violence against each other, right?
Is the violence. And Americans settle into their seats for that. They tailgate in anticipation of their volatile pastime.
True.
This orchestrated pummeling of another team, the walloping of another person.
Mm-hmm.
The winner's victory is a violent one.
Yeah.
So, to review, football is violent, macho, militaristic, brutal, patriotic, and uniquely American. This is supposed to be an argument against football, but it ends up being a better advertisement for football than anything the NFL would come up with these days.
I got to give it to Matt Walsh. I mean, he's right that if you're looking for your demographic, you have just sold it back to them.
Better NFL advertisement than any NFL advertisement I have seen in 10 years.
He's not wrong. I can't
And that's
argue.
the funny thing here, is that the media is discovering football's violence at precisely the moment that the NFL is doing everything it can to neuter and feminize the sport and make it less violent. Professional football...
Okay. I knew we'd get to the stupid shit. I knew we would. And here we go.
In fact, has never been less violent than it is right now. And yet now is the time when reporters are asking the president whether football is becoming too dangerous. Now, whatever else you might say about the sport, there is no doubt that it is actually becoming every year significantly less dangerous, for better or worse. But even with all the additional focus on...
How? Like, every year? No, I don't think so. They haven't done anything aside from trying to ban helmet-to-helmet collisions in the past. I don't even think 10 years. It's been the same sport for a long time.
Safety. And the new rules introduced every year to make the sport less physical and less brutal. Still,
literally aren't. Like I said, the last big safety rule change. We'll look it up. Football safety rule. Oh, yeah, that's going to be safety. Let's see. Get out of here. Yeah, I'm not finding anything. The issue is that anytime you type in safety, you're going to get the rule safety. NFL operations. Protecting players. NFL enforces rule changes. Blah, blah, blah. Competition committee, which spearheads the rule changes, reviews injury data. The use of helmet rule change, for example, which is the only one that has happened. 2015. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Matt Walsh, 7 years ago, 8 years ago now. Okay. All right.
It remains a sport, a contact sport. And so injuries are possible. Serious injuries are also possible. Fatal injuries are extremely unlikely and incredibly rare, but still possible.
Still possible. Yep.
Anybody with a brain knew this already. Every player knows this. We have all always been aware of the possibility, which is why it doesn't make sense to engage in some sort of fundamental reassessment of the sport when the possible thing, which we all knew was possible, happens. Damar Hamlin is a tragic occurrence. It's not new information, though.
Okay, so I want you to look at how he's framing this, okay? So he took what he sees as the most extreme example of someone pushing back against this using the issue of Damar Hamlin, right? And instead of talking about it in a way where we say, okay, sure, that's fine. The sport is violent necessarily. You know what I mean? It's necessarily violent. That's part of it. Is there anything we can do to prevent things like what happened to Damar Hamlin? Is there anything we can do? Oh, 8 years really isn't a difference for him, I guess. Yeah, 18, you know, someone being 26 or, you know, yeah, the 16-year-olds, you know? Eek. So, anyway, like, the issue here is that he's framing this in a way where the opposition, anyone that disagrees with him about this, anyone that wants to make the sport safer, is trying to fundamentally restructure the sport, right? Which isn't true. Think about, like, go back to UFC 1, okay? UFC 1. I'm sorry, I always bring it back to MMA because it's my thing, okay? Go back to UFC 1, and you had no rules. People could wear gis, right? People could wear boxing gloves. They could wear shoes, right? So, like, all kinds of nonsense. And then we realize that it's probably not good to kick people in the mouth with shoes on. Maybe we take the shoes off, right? So we do that, right? We take the shoes off. We say, you know what? People are breaking their hands left and right. You know, people are stuffing their fingers into each other's eyes and whatnot. Let's make a rule to stop people from doing that. Let's make a rule to stop, you know, people from breaking their hands. We'll give them gloves, right? We'll give them gloves that allow them to grip things still. So we'll give them these nice 4-ounce gloves that just, you know, are just enough protection on their knuckles to make sure they don't break things. And we'll make sure that they can still do their jujitsu or whatever, right? Okay, let's give them a certain selection of shorts. Okay, women are competing now. Let's make sure they have to wear breast protectors so that there's no chance of them, like, you know, developing a tumor, you know, or a lower chance of them developing a tumor or something dumb like that because they keep getting hit in the chest, right? So, like, none of those fundamentally change the sport of MMA any more than someone learning, you know, Taekwondo and Jiu-Jitsu changed the sport fundamentally of MMA or whatever, right? Like, those things are just part of how it goes. The sport is still there, and we can have that conversation, right? Like, that's it. Football players should play in full knight armor, not for safety, but just because it looks awesome. Yeah, I agree, actually, dude. Okay, so you follow me, so I talk about MMA a lot. I don't know if you've seen it, but there is medieval MMA where they wear, like, knight armor and have swords and whatnot, and they throw kicks and punches at each other too. And, like, if you get a knockout, it's the same as, like, an MMA. So it's just dudes in armor throwing head kicks and shit at each other while they're in full plate armor. It's wild. Yeah, go check it out. It's something else. But, like, that's the thing, is we can talk about making things safer for people. We can talk about changing the sport in a way that potentially makes the player's longevity a priority, right? While still maintaining the, you know, the fundamental aspects of the sport. But Matt Walsh is framing it as if you want to do that is equivalent to you wanting to end the sport, change it entirely. And that's just, it's just not accurate, right? So instead of doing that, why don't we talk about it in reasonable terms? Hey, man, you know, I agree with you. The sport's violent. Sports are violent. That's how sports are. But can we make it a little safer for the people involved? I mean, Matt Walsh isn't going to go fucking step on there and get hit by a 300-pound quarterback. He won't step in a cage with me and let me fucking throw a left hook at him, right? That won't happen. So if he's not willing to do it, what makes him think that other people should have to if there's a way to avoid it, right? Make it safer. And that's the conversation that we should have is this okay? Is the violence preventable? Like, certain aspects of damage and injury preventable? Otherwise, allow the violence to play out.
It's the sort of thing that everyone knows can happen.
Yeah.
And so when it does happen, it just doesn't make any sense to say, well, we got to reassess all of this. It's like if there's a terrible car accident and somebody dies in the car. Damar Hamlin, thank God, didn't die and has survived so far. But if there's a terrible car accident and you're sad about the car accident, it doesn't make any sense to say, well, now we have to reassess and rethink of everything about the highway system. Well, it's like,
but wait. There is something you can do, and that's ensure that there are safety functions that in the case of something terrible like that happening, it might prevent something worse, right? Seat belts. And this is what I mean. This is the difference, right? And maybe he brings it up later in the video. Maybe I'm just being an asshole right now. But right now he has been spending this whole time framing it as an us versus them, having football versus not having football. I mean, look, professional football might be in trouble. Here's why is the name of the video. right? So don't frame it like that. Talk about it and say, yeah, no, you're right. Absolutely. Violence is part of the sport. That's how it works. Let's try and make it safe for people.
We always knew why would this, you always knew that there were accidents. So why is this causing you to think differently about it? But putting that aside for a moment, and even putting the NFL aside.
Oh, God. Okay. All right. He's getting into the society shit now. Okay. Oof. He's had pretty agreeable takes so far. Let's hear it.
Let's consider football itself as a sport.
Okay.
Despite any rule changes or updates to the equipment, it is still a fundamentally violent sport. That's
okay.
True.
All right. We're just talking football.
And that's what it always will be.
Agreed.
Is that a bad thing?
Not necessarily.
No, it's not. In fact, it is a good and healthy thing. It is good that football is violent.
All right. I want to see him defend this, because having a correct position and not being able to defend it is equally as bad. Well, not equally, but it's bad. It's almost as bad as having a wrong position and being able to defend it, right? You want to be able to defend your position, even if it's good. His position that violence is okay in controlled scenarios is a good position. I'm curious if he has a reasonable take outside of it's manly, it's masculine, big tough guy. You know what I mean?
It should stay violent. It is good to have violent sports.
Why?
Okay? We should have violent sports. If anything, we should have more of them, because a violent sport like football is, among other things, a relatively safe, and relatively productive outlet for male energy and aggression.
There it is. See what I mean, boys? See what I mean? He can't do it right. You can't argue it right. If that's the case, why do women compete in sports? Why should they? They have no right to. If it's only for male energy, women don't have a right to be in sports, Matt. Fucking use your brain when you're talking about this. Women's MMA, right now, Amanda Nunes is one of, if not the most talented fighter on the fucking earth, right? Look at her competition, who she's beat. She is the double champ of the two heaviest divisions for women. She has trashed everyone. Everyone. Look at Valentina Shevchenko. Valentina Shevchenko has 2 losses. You know who they're to? Amanda fucking Nunes. That's it. These people are fucking savages. And they're women. They don't have male aggression, my guy. This is what I mean. Like, having a decent position and then saying stupid shit like that makes it seem like people like me that agree with that position agree with the shit you just said. And I don't. All right? I don't think that's smart. I don't think letting out male aggression is why we have sports. Fuck.
Okay, there's a reason why many of the media articles being written and freaking out about football are being written by women.
Women. Yeah. See? It's all fucking women. It's fucking women. Like, can't we not do that? Can we just talk about, like, sports? Fuck. Dude.
Football is not, no matter what the NFL is trying to do, football is not for women. There might be some women who get into it, but it's not really for women.
It's not for you. It's for men. Big, strong, tough men. Man, I called it, dude. Why do I have to be right about everything all the fucking time? I hate it. Fucking hate it. Stop it, Matt Walsh. You're making people like me look stupid because I agree with what you were saying before, and you justify it like an asshole.
Not for you. You don't understand it. You're not meant to understand it.
What? Women don't... Listen, women, you don't understand football. You're not meant to understand football. You're not smart enough for it. It's not for you, all right? Shut the fuck up. Maybe you like looking at hot players or whatever, but, like, you're fucking stupid. What fucking kind of dumbass Andrew Tate brain shit is this?
This is actually a man's thing. This is why violent games have existed in every society going back to primitive times. They are a means.
And why only men have ever competed in them. There are no women that have ever competed in violent sports. Doesn't happen. It's never happened. Women have never competed in violent sports. Those names, Valentina Shevchenko and Amanda Nunes, I made them up. Fake names. That's it. Megan Anderson doesn't exist. Mackenzie Dern doesn't exist. You know, Weili Zhang doesn't exist. Rose Namajunas, fake. They're all fake people. All of those are fake people, right? Ronda Rousey, she never fought anyone. She's just a WWE person, right? Yeah, it's all fake. Misha Tate's fake. All of them. They're all fake. I'm making these names up. None of them exist. The only one that exists is Ronda Rousey, and she does fake sports. I can see how incredibly masculine he is. You were right. It is just him. No one else is to get enjoyment. Just Matt Walsh. You know, the only thing that would make him more masculine is if he did the Steven Crowder and kept the 2 gun holsters right above his titties. You know, that would be it. That would make him hot, high masculine. Mwah. I just don't get it, man. Like, even when they arrive at a decent position, they get there through the dumbest conclusions.
Of channeling and harnessing male aggression.
No, it's not.
Part of the reason any boy or young man starts playing football is that he enjoys the contact, the violence, the opportunity to hit someone. Yes, that is one of the things that is going to drive a boy to play football to begin with, is that he wants to hit someone.
I mean, he's not wrong that sometimes it's fun to hit things. It's fun to hit people. Part of existing is exerting your power over things. That is part of existing, right? Like, it's part of how you live. You exert power, like we talked about earlier. You use violence to keep yourself alive all the time. You use violence to keep your home safe. You use violence to keep food in your mouth, right? We use violence for everything. Violence is a fundamental part of nature. So, like, he's not wrong. We do violence, but he's wrong that only men do violence. That's fake. That's false. Incorrect. Women like to hit things too. I can tell you right now, personally, all right, I fight people. I want to fight people for money. Right now, if I fight someone, I don't get any money because I'm still an amateur. But I want to fight people for money. And my wife will more often than not start fights out of the 2 of us. If someone steps up to her, she will fight them in the street. She doesn't give a shit. I will not. I don't fight people in the street. It's not because I'm worried about a contract. It's because it's not fucking worth it to fight someone in the fucking street. Okay? It's not my thing. So why is it that my wife is more likely to commit violence in the streets than I am if it's only men that have these violent urges? It's because it's not. Men and women both have violent urges. Both of them want to take it out on other people sometimes. People want to hit things. Why do women ever hit a heavy bag? It feels cathartic to hit things. It happens, right? It's nice. It's okay. You can acknowledge that, but you have to acknowledge it for everyone, right? Everyone.
Boys enjoy violence. They do. That might make your tummy hurt to think about.
Oh my God.
You might put your hand on your forehead and faint over the thought that boys enjoy violence. It doesn't change.
What's making me faint is that you're saying women don't. They do.
Change the fact that they do. Boys naturally enjoy violence. My sons are constantly wrestling and beating the hell out of each other for fun.
Yes.
My daughters never do that with each other. My boys do it all.
It's because your daughters are fucking pussies. That's why. Your daughters are little bitches. All right? Put them in a cage with me. They won't last 3 seconds. Okay? Yeah, dude. No, but it happens, dude. Sometimes women don't want to fight each other. Sometimes men don't want to fight each other, okay? It happens.
All the time. They love when I join in and wrestle with them as well, which I often do. It's what guys do. It's how we're wired. In football or in any number of similar sports, a boy learns to channel that energy according to the rules and the playbook and in service to a greater good, which is the team. Now, they're not out fighting for their country. They aren't actually warriors on a battlefield. There isn't much really at stake. It's just a game, sure, but the focus on the team, working towards a common goal, utilizing that violent energy in a disciplined and targeted way between the whistles, between the sidelines, this is all very good.
Now, remember, it's only good if women don't engage in it.
We need to have outlets like this. We need to have ways for young men to harness and use that brutal, masculine, violent energy that scares Washington Post columnist and Joy Behar.
But here's the thing, okay? So I've been poking at it because we've been talking specifically about the sport football, like people like doing football. But there is something that we're kind of overlooking here that might be what she's looking at. Remember, we don't have access to the article. We're not willing to pay radical left extremist Washington Post like Matt Walsh does. So one of the things that we're overlooking here in this conversation is the fans, right? Like me, as a fan of MMA, I'm not going out there and like fighting people unless it's in a cage, right? But like other people do. Whenever Conor McGregor got his ass clapped the fuck up by Khabib, when Khabib like took him down, battered him, dominated him for 4 rounds, shit in his mouth openly, knocked him down and choked him out, right? When that happened, he wasn't even allowed to have the belt wrapped around his waist because they were worried the fans would kill him. Maybe part of the violence we're talking about isn't the violence committed by the players. That's fine. Maybe we accept the violence committed by the players. Maybe the issue here is the violence committed by the fans, right? Because if you're a fan of the sport, you're a fan of violence. And I think that's something that is pretty objective. Matt Walsh would agree with that. If you're a fan of the sport, you're a fan of violence. And if you're a fan of violence, maybe you're more likely to commit violence. Maybe. You know, I don't know. There might be studies put out. Seems pretty reasonable to assume that if you're more likely to enjoy violent things, you might also be more likely to do violent things. And you can see that when you get these like heavily, usually intoxicated, aggressive men who are watching violence happen, or women, you know, I'm not sexist like Matt Walsh, these humans get all fucking ramped up on adrenaline and patriotism for their, you know, fucking team. They get all built on tribalism. They burn fucking cities to the ground. There is more damage done after your fucking football team loses than probably the whole of BLM, dude. Like, football fans are violent, right? And maybe that's the thing we should talk about. Not whether or not the sport is violent. And again, I can't verify whether or not the author was talking about that because we don't have access to the whole article. Thank you, Washington Post. Appreciate it. But yeah, so I think that's something we're overlooking here. Yeah, the sport is violent, but the fans don't have to be. The sport has to be violent. The fans don't.
The problem, though, is that we are steadily removing all such outlets from society. We're giving boys fewer and fewer opportunities to be rambunctious and violent.
That is objectively false. Like, I don't give a fuck what you think. That is objectively false. Okay? You can disagree with me if you want. You're fucking stupid. Okay? That is objectively false. Okay? Back in the day, like, let's look. Okay. We're doing it. When was football invented? 1920. That's when the NFL was founded. Okay, so 1920 we have football. When was baseball invented? 1876. Okay, so first we have baseball, then we have football. Basketball invented in 1930s. Basketball is invented. When was freestyle wrestling invented? That was back in the Greek times, but it says 1904, freestyle wrestling, okay? Freestyle wrestling invented. Greco-Roman was since the fucking time of the Greeks, right? Greco-Roman is why it's called that, but we're looking for that. The early 19th century, so the 1800s is when it started being practiced in America. So in the 1800s, we get baseball, we get Greco-Roman wrestling. The early 1900s, we get freestyle wrestling, right? When was judo invented? 1882, right? So 1882, right? So as time progresses, we're getting more and more things. Jiu-jitsu created. Oh yeah, I mean that's fair. Back in the 1500s, it talks about like people changing from fucking. So back in the day, we'll start with jujitsu, old school jujitsu being taken from Japanese judo, right? Then all the way up to today. So we go in the 1500s, and as we go on, more expansions of things are happening. Then we get boxing, right? Boxing invented. Back in the day in 600 BC. All right, we're starting with the wrestling and then the boxing. But when was it in America? When was it in America? Late 1700s. So we get fucking jiu-jitsu way back in the day, and then judo and wrestling, and then boxing, and then a different take on wrestling, then, you know, fucking baseball, then football, then basketball, and then, you know, as it goes on, we get MMA, and then we get multiple forms of MMA. Now we have bare knuckle boxing, right? Bare knuckle boxing is a thing. We now have slap fights as a thing. So, like, that's objectively false. There are more ways to not only hurt people in public, right? But to be paid to hurt people. There are more ways to be paid to do violence than there ever has been before. That is an objectively false take. Because, like, let's hear one more time. Just
Joy Behar. The problem, though, is that we are steadily removing all such outlets from society. We're giving boys fewer and fewer opportunities to be rambunctious and violent in controlled and productive environments.
False. Like I just said, I just proved it false, right? We have more ways to hurt each other for money than literally ever in all of human history. That's it. We now have, like, there's the karate tournaments now that are, like, professionally done, you know? Like, it's ridiculous. The Kyokushin stuff, like, there's so much. Taekwondo is an Olympic sport. Like, there are more ways for people to commit violence against each other than have ever been. And he's like, I don't know how men are going to be men anymore. Boys are under attack. Masculinity is under attack. My guy, it is not. It is fucking not.
Instead, we attempt to suppress those tendencies entirely and feminize them, but it doesn't work. It never will.
Feminize them. Again, okay, so here's my bet, all right? Matt Walsh. How big is Matt Walsh? We're looking at it. Matt Walsh, height and weight. He is 6 foot tall. We're looking at it. Figuring it out. Age and height. What? It says he's 5'8". Why does it say 6 foot? Oh my god, the dude lies about his fucking height. No way, dude. All right. So he's 5'8". So he's exactly my height. Matt Walsh, fight me. No, I'm not going to do that. So he's 5'8", small, teeny tiny, right? Doesn't look very big and tough. All right. Let's get the stats. Okay. Let's get it. Sorry, this is worth it. Oh, man. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. It's over, Matt. Matt Walsh, it is done. All right. Are you ready for this? Matt Walsh is 5'8". Okay. Matt Walsh is 5'8". Probably 160. Okay. Amanda Nunes fights at 145 pounds. 135 sometimes she cuts to as well. She's both champs, right? Guess how tall she is. You see that? 5'8". Amanda Nunes and Matt Walsh are the same height. Matt Walsh, this is my challenge to you. If you think that violence is being feminized and therefore you cannot do violence, I want you to step in a cage with Amanda Nunes. If you can last one round with Amanda Nunes going hard, just trouncing you, I might give you my entire salary, dude. She will fucking destroy him. That's so funny, dude. You will get demolished by a woman the very first chance she had. Oh my God. That's so funny, dude. They're the same height. Amanda Nunes would beat the fuck out of Matt Walsh. And he's out here like, not allowing boys to do violence is feminizing them, making them more like women. Okay, my guy. All right, whatever you say.
And we again and again react with horror when the male aggression we've been trying to suppress, and which has few healthy outlets for expression anymore,
no, it doesn't.
Spills out in far more dangerous and destructive and chaotic ways, on street corners, in classrooms, etc. Here's the fact of the matter. You will never have a society without violent men. It cannot exist. It never will.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah. No, the betting lines for that would be awful. Amanda Nunes would be like a fucking minus 18,000 under or fucking favorite for that match. Like, there's no way. Like, no one's betting on Matt. Well, I don't know though, dude. He might be fucking dumb enough to hype everyone up. He might go into it the favorite just because his fucking homeboys were like, Amanda Nunes is like a chick, bruh. I'm voting for the dude. Dudes are stronger, you know what I mean? Like, shit. You know? Voting enough. If people fucking bet hard on Matt Walsh to win, they can change the betting lines. He has no chance, though. No, like, let's not fuck around. Amanda Nunes murders this man. Like, he gets trounced. But, yeah, I don't know. We should set it up, though. I wish I could get a hold of Amanda Nunes and be like, hey, Amanda Nunes, there's a political commentator that thinks that women can't do violence very well. He's the same height as you. I feel like you could probably do something about that.
The only question is whether men will be given constructive avenues for channeling and using that aggression or not. If you choose not, there will be a price to pay. We are already paying it. And that is why the people trying to cancel football are instead themselves today canceled. That'll do it.
Canceled. They got canceled. Canceled. No, I don't think anyone's trying to cancel football. And if you are, you're a fucking idiot. Like he said, violence is real. It happens. It's just the thing that happens in society. But like, men aren't the only ones that do violence, my guy. And there are more outlets for men than there ever have been. Men are able to commit violence. You have boxing, kickboxing, MMA, Muay Thai, Taekwondo, karate, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo. Like, these are just the combat sports that I'm looking at. Bare knuckle boxing. Like, there's so many. You have Submission Underground now with fucking Chael Sonnen, right? So the undisputed, undefeated, never lost a round, right? So, like, you can't say that, though, dude. You can't just say fake shit like that. Men don't have outlets. Men don't have outlets. My guy, they do. They do have outlets. Trust me. You don't, because you spend your life in an office. That's okay. But don't project, okay? Just because you're a weak guy, weak, short guy, sits around in an office complaining about how there are tall women in the world or whatever, all right? Just don't project it on everyone else. It's okay. You can be a short king. You're a king, okay? All men are kings. Short men are kings, okay? It's all right, buddy. Forgive you.